Hey guys, what's going on? Joe and Mike back again to talk about the NBA last night. We had four games. Most of them, I'm pretty sure if I recall correctly, were pretty dang competitive all the way up till the end. Yes, they all were. At least, actually, wait, no, one of them might not have been. But other than that one, we got three really close games yesterday. We're just gonna go over them and do our thing. Mike, anything to add? I think that was pretty
Well, no,
straightforward.
I was just gonna say the Clippers and Mavs did end up being a close game, but for a while there, it was looking like the Clippers were running away with it
Yeah,
most
I
of the
was
game.
referring to the Bucks game because it wasn't that close near the end, but
Hmm.
yeah, they probably should have prefaced that better. I meant like close endings.
It
Three out of,
definitely.
but yeah, let's get right into it with the Knicks and the Sixers, which I tell you what, ex- I might have expected this. I think you took the Knicks in this series. I definitely didn't. I could have seen a 3-1 lead in after game four, but I don't think I would have given the Knicks I don't think I would have given the Knicks the three. So let's see. Yeah, so the Sixers in the first quarter were pretty dang efficient. They got a 25 and 15 lead. It was mostly Maxey and Oubre through a lot of the first quarter and midway through second quarter. Um Brunson gets 16 midway through the second to tie it at 29. 21 points for him with 6.5 left in the second. So Brunson woke the hell up. Maxey and Oubre, yep, stay consistent. Anobi and Hartenstein were really good on defense. It was so Embiid did end up with 27 points last night, but I feel like it was so quiet. So I'll be honest, I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch the game. I listened to the end because I found out that the guy I was working with was a Knicks fan, and he was listening the whole time. And I was like, I just throw it on blast, and I don't. But yeah, no. So I watched the highlights, and Embiid had like maybe two or three shots. So one can only assume he did his signature move going to the free throw line. Not no hate, but at the end of the third, DiVincenzo, Brunson, Embiid trading threes, Embiid with a giant block on a Brunson layup. Both of them went down hard. Obviously, Embiid's already banged up. Both of them were on the floor for a little bit, but back up obviously and finished the game. Um, Josh Hart, so let's start talking about the game. Obviously, it was a really close game up until the end, and then the I think the Sixers just fouled a little too much near the end, a little too early instead of holding out and just hoping to play some stellar defense. I'm gonna start with Josh Hart, who I don't know if he played all 48 minutes. I really should have looked into that because I thought that was really cool how he did that the first two games, but kept off the score sheet really in this game, but defensively, he had some very key. I think he had 17 rebounds, which is really necessary because Hartenstein, he had five fouls pretty early into the fourth, I'm pretty sure, so he didn't play much late game. Um, a couple key blocks from Hart as well, and just kind of that's what it came down to. I feel like in the end was in the paint getting those rebounds for the Knicks, and then on the other end of the court, getting the blocks and not allowing anything else from the Knicks. If you wanted to comment on that, I do see you just muted yourself, though.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me just
Yeah,
see
no,
what I
no, you're
got
good. You're
here.
good. I was just starting. I'm ready. I'm ready now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really wanted to add was, yeah, I had said, I'd actually said Nixon five. Um,
Oh,
I
oh,
like I think the last time we spoke about the Knicks Sixers, I had told you that like I didn't think Embiid was healthy enough to continue putting together, like special games, and I didn't think
right.
he was going to continue to be himself. And again, like you hit it on the nail. And this is why I always like this, but like that's why I always say to you the one thing where I'm like, man, like the stats don't tell the full story because like there's a
Right.
lot of times where you look at stats and you'll see like a player like, oh, he had like 27 or even like he had 31 or something, and it's like, yeah, but like if you would have watched the game, like I would say to someone like, yeah, but if you watch the game, like you would notice that like you if you watched the game and was like and asked somebody, yo, how many points you think Embiid had? Like, I probably would have said like 17 maybe, like because it
Yeah.
just didn't feel like it. Brunson is definitely alive and well, you know. And the
Before you
unfortunate
finish
part of
that, before you finish that, Knicks postseason record 47 points for Brunson.
Yeah. So, with that being said, it's like now the unfortunate thing about all of this, I
Mhm.
guess it's not unfortunate for us, but the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs is about to be even worse than the first round because and I'm not trying to jump the gun here, but you're gonna have Knicks versus Pacers, and then you're gonna have Celtics versus either Magic or Cavs, and it's like, God, I'm just thinking about now. It's gonna be such a brutal. Both of those games are gonna suck. But I am getting excited now and a little nervous. Not nervous because I do think that the Celtics can beat the Knicks, but the Knicks always give the Celtics some hard fought games, man. And I really think that the Knicks have a chance this postseason. They're proving it now, going in, winning at Philly. Like they're on a mission, and I think that they hate the fact that everybody says, oh yeah, like they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's it. Like I really think they're gonna take that to heart, and I really think that I think Brunson's gonna do everything he can to make that a series with the Celtics when they get to it. But in the meantime, I mean, I'm just really happy for the Knicks. Um, I don't know where this leaves Philly. I mean, I'm looking at it right now more like long term, like I don't know what Embiid's gonna do next year. I really don't know. But the biggest takeaway for me is I'm just like this Knicks team. I feel like has been like the last probably 2 to 3 years. They've just been progressing more and more. And Brunson was finally that piece for them that just so like
Yeah.
to really make it work. And like I don't know. It's just cool seeing, like I'm not a New York hater. I like the Celtics obviously, but like I like to see New York do well too, especially a team that's just been
Mhm.
struggling for years and years. But yeah, I don't know. They got a solid squad. I expect them to close it out in 5 against the Sixers. I think the Sixers will be going home early, and yeah,
Yeah, it just leads you to believe. I mean, I'm not sure how much better they would be with Randall right now. Obviously, he's a giant piece that they're missing, but I really feel like players like Hart have like stepped in and really like filled that role well. Especially given the fact that Brunson didn't really play well in the first couple games in this matchup.
well, you remember.
Um,
I don't know if you remember or not, but I told you Randall has historically been a very very bad playoff performer.
okay,
So
so
I
maybe they're
I I,
benefiting.
I don't want to say they're better. They're probably be in the same position, you know. So
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, it's not even on the Knicks, but before we move to our next matchup, is it's so funny that you bring up the Knicks giving the Celtics a good run for their money. Because I said the same thing yesterday to Brent, but about the Magic. Dude, remember, like we couldn't beat the Magic for to save our lives for a bit in the regular season, obviously. But yeah, it kind of makes me think, oh, we kind of really need the Cavaliers to score 100 points here.
no, I think that was more so a last year's team problem. I feel like
I think it was not this year. I will say they beat the Magic a couple times this year, but I feel like it was since I started watching until this year. So I'd say 2 years in a row that we had trouble against the Magic. But obviously, it's different in the playoffs. We'll see. But I just thought that was really funny that you said that because if the path to the finals is Magic Knicks, it's two teams that like on paper it's like, and in terms of fans enjoyment, it's like, but it's like two teams that personally for the Celtics, it's just been a tough sledding with for some reason. But
I do think they'd be 2 long series, but yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So let's get into the Clippers game, which God, God, I don't know whether to say each team played really well or each team played really horribly. I do. I just kind of wanted to lead it in with that. Rough start for the Mavericks in the first 5 minutes. I mean, Luka he had two fouls in the first 5 minutes. And at the end of the first, the Clips led 39-16. Remember that score. Um, Paul George, he had 26 in the first half, so he was going off. At one point, they had 55 points, and Harden and George had 33 of them, and they led them 55-24. Um, Westbrook off the score sheet was really big this game. He had a really good steal. There was a block from Washington, so it went nowhere, but he had a bunch of interceptions, quite a few, or not quite a few, but a couple blocks as well. Kyrie, so go back to the Mavericks, he didn't score till halfway through the second, and then it was a 2-pointer, then 2 threes immediately, and then he got 12 points in under 2 minutes. So that tells you all you need to know about Kyrie. And then the Clippers looking pretty good, blew a 31 point lead. Um, Luka hit a three. It was tied at 98. And then let's see. Kyrie Mavericks take the lead following a really deep Kyrie three-pointer in that crazy Al layup, which was crazy, obviously. And then after that, Harden just took over and they ended up winning the game. We can get into specifics later, but what did you think of the game?
So I got a couple thoughts, right? First of all, I thought it really cool that like that this was a vintage Kyrie game, like pre Brooklyn and Boston, like pre all of his controversies as like a player. Um, this is vintage Kyrie. This is the Kyrie that growing up as basketball fans, we all fell in love with because he just some of the shots he was able to make,
Mm,
just some of like just watching him is just it's fun again, and I love it because this was the Kyrie that I grew up. Kyrie played for St. Patrick's High School in New Jersey, and we used to watch him a lot when we were growing up. And
wow.
I just remember going to his games and like we just sitting there watching him in amazement. And like, that's how I felt when he was on the Cavs. And then I felt like when he came to Boston and then Brooklyn, he got away from all of that. And it just seems like he's kind of back to his old self, which I think is like just incredible. And I think you have a couple instances of that in this series with him, with Paul George, with Harden, even Westbrook to an extent. Westbrook obviously isn't putting up the numbers he once did, but he's still
Yep.
impacting the game
That's what
in
I'm
a
saying.
pretty
Off
cool.
the paper, that's what I have written here. Off the paper, Westbrook has been pretty dang good this series for sure, especially in this game.
Yeah, that's kind of been his that's kind of what he's done. That's he's had to he was in a weird transition state when he was on the Lakers for a year or two because he wasn't the guy who was going to average a triple double anymore, but he was still trying to be that. So he had to find
Yeah.
like he basically had to reinvent himself as a player as he got older, which he kudos to him he did. Also Harden. I mean Harden when you watch him now, it's very clear that he's older. He's not as quick as he once was. It's very obvious, but he's still finding ways to score. And I mean, as someone who very critical of him in the playoffs and rightfully so. I mean, he's been doing well. And again, this is always the Clippers. I thought, right, you could look at it from a standpoint of that. Wow, they were up so much and they almost blew the lead. Like that's a negative. But I actually think it's a positive because they usually in their all of their history as an organization, they don't win this game. They let a team come back and then they lose. They still found a way to win this game. And I think that says a lot. And all it makes me think, and it just gives even more credence to me saying for the last 4 years, like, God damn, if Kawhi Leonard was just healthy, the NBA would be
Yeah.
in some serious trouble. I mean serious trouble. Like the Clippers would have a chokehold on the NBA right now. And I mean, that's why I'm just like I don't know because it's weird. Like the Mavs could have easily gone up 3-1. Now it's 2-2. I still think the Mavs are going to take the series, but I think it'll probably go seven. Um, and yeah, it's just I think this is going to go down. I think we're going to look at this matchup. Joe, I know you don't know because you weren't watching at the time, but I think people are going to look at this first round series the way that they look at the 2009 Celtics versus Bulls first round, which is like it's known as like people say it's the best playoff series ever, and it was just a round one. I think that this is going to go down as one of those series as well. So I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, those are my main takeaways.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? It's so funny because I do agree that I hear all the time about how much Harden's a choker in the playoffs.
He
Last
is,
year,
but
I'm sure you remember against the Celtics, his game one, he just went the frig off and then kind of just dipped for the rest of the series. So he went off in game one again, and I said on this podcast, I'm like, yep, I'm trying not to be fooled, but that was a pretty impressive game. However, this game was unbelievable from him and Paul George. Both I haven't seen a lot of vintage Paul George, so this was one of my first experiences of that. Obviously he cooled down a lot in the second half, and gave the ball more to Harden, and but he did hit a really vital corner three to try to take that lead back, which obviously was a success for them. I feel like a game like this, Luka had a triple double. I think he was 10, 20, 10, and 29. It just goes to show his selflessness as a player. And because if you watch pretty much every time that Kyrie got the ball, it was like and made some crazy ass score. It was from Luka. Luka knows he's the superstar of that team. He is the guy. However, he knows when someone else, mainly Kyrie, is feeling it, and he knows to give him the ball. So a lot of this, although Luka wasn't, the big star for the Mavericks in this game, it was obviously Kyrie. A lot of positive takeaways. A lot of positive takeaways can be placed on Luka. If
Mhm.
I'm the Clippers in the scenario, this is where it gets oh, and also he was playing with 5 fouls for a significant portion of that game. Luka was. It's interesting for the Clippers. I think we keep Kawhi on the bench no matter what game five. I think if we advance, I think we've seen what we need to see in terms of a Kawhi-less Clippers team, in terms of like, we can do this without him. And were we to advance, we're going to need him against the Thunder, who are just absolutely surging right now. Don't want to talk about that. But they're gonna need Kawhi as healthy as possible. And the other two games that he was playing, he kind of held back the team. So with those two things being said, I think it has to be a coaching decision. You don't play Kawhi, even if Kawhi's like, I feel fine, coach. It's like, of course he's gonna say that he wants to play, he wants to win, he has that mentality in him. So I think regardless of however healthy Kawhi says he feels, you keep him on the bench. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do agree with that. I think they should rest him. I mean, obviously, unless like he is ready. Because if he is ready, I think. But the thing is, Kawhi's never 100% ready. I guess is is
Yeah.
is the hard part. I don't know. I don't know. I do agree. I don't think he should play, but in the same breath, it's like, how are you gonna how are you gonna sit someone you're paying 50 million a year? If he wants to play. Um, but I do agree, and not to mention, I mean, I think whoever wins this series is gonna absolutely steamroll past the Thunder. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But
One
yeah,
thing the
I
Thunder will
agree.
have on their side is rest. They will have a lot of rest because I don't see the Pelicans doing anything.
Yeah, but a lot of times rest is overrated.
Mm. Um, but yeah, if you have, unless you have anything else to say on that brilliant game, tied up obviously now at two. The only other series tied at two is also another 4-5 matchup, being the Cavs and Magic. Hopefully, after tonight, that remains the only series tied up at two. But we do have a game to watch for sure tonight in terms of a 2-1 lead. Let's talk about the Bucks and the Pacers. And I know you are the last person that I think of when it comes to a big excuses guy. But I mean, we're talking no Lillard, no Giannis, and obviously practically crippled Middleton, and Portis Jr. getting ejected in the first quarter. Wow, this was
Yeah,
crazy. Like
yeah.
like this is this is something different we're seeing from the Bucks here. What?
Real quick. I just want to add something real quick. You're right. I'm not a big excuses guy, but I'll be honest with you. Like the last two seasons now, Giannis is going to be getting booted out the first round, and I'm not holding that against him at all. So like
No,
in
of
the
course.
in the one breath, I'm like, I guess when it comes to the excuses part, it's more like the people who like after the season are like, well, if it wasn't for Giannis and Dame, the Pacers wouldn't have gotten as far as they did. And it's like, yes, true, but this is why you play the game. Yeah, no, like, but you can continue because I have a little bit more to say. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Right. And then obviously Halliburton also ended up on the late injury report with I remember what I wanted to say to you before this. So let me see if I recollect. Stop me at any point. Tyrese Halliburton was lured to the Sunnyvale Trailer Park, where he tricked two cops into beating him because he had back spasms. And then after After everything, Halliburton had his friends beat him for real
For
while he was
real.
drunk. He staged a beating of himself. Preposterous. I'm keeping it in. I don't care. I'm
Oh
keeping this in.
God. Yeah. Yeah, you can keep that. You could definitely keep
Dude,
that.
freaking Halliburton's like, can we turn that shit off, Joe? I don't need to watch. But what was I getting? So Halliburton also wasn't 100% for this game. Maybe they was trying to level the playing field with Lillard being hurt. I'm joking, obviously. But both teams were really efficient offensively in the first. 67 and to 64 to end the half.
You know what?
They
Real
both
quick,
had
I hate to cut you off, but just a real quick thought. Um, the one thing, I mean, obviously you don't want anybody getting injured, and like it sucks to see the star players injured. But that has been the one cool thing about this series is that like I feel like we've been getting to see some people playing like in these big playoff moments that would never like have this much like say or like this much like assignment that they're tasked with in come NBA playoff time. So I feel like that's actually made these games really competitive and fun to watch. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that. So the other so what I say, 67, 64 at half. They both hit 50 before the midway point of the second quarter. And it was tied at 33 to end the first. So that means they both got 17 points in 6 minutes. So both these offenses were going off. Middleton, so obviously, Middleton banged himself up, went immediately to the locker room, came back. I see it as another Lillard situation. I don't think he's playing next game. He was having trouble walking around and dribbling. He was falling. He was literally falling over. Um, and I got the word Gallinari written here. I've never seen Gallinari play a single damn game of basketball. They went
That's
deep into
right.
that
You
bench.
haven't.
Yep, yep. And this is what I wrote. Siakam totally juked Gallinari. So that's kind of he did get 6 points in 13 minutes, but those were six
Gallinari legacy game.
minutes points, yeah. Brooke Lopez has been damn near automatic from three for the Bucks, all things considered. Miles Turner this game postering Lopez, hitting everything from three. The Pacers were 51% from three, which was it was just absolutely disgusting. I don't even need to know the first thing about basketball. That's absolutely disgusting. Um, Six double-digit scores for the Pacers, leading into what you said. Turner had 29. It felt like Turner had more than 29, hence the score sheet again. Halliburton 24, also a bunch of great assists. Siakam with 9, 7, and 13. Lopez was 9 rebounds and 27 points. Middleton 10, 5, 25. Beasley 20 points. And the last thing I have written here, which would have segued perfectly if you had said how great the different scorers had been for both teams. 11 different players got points for the Bucks this game. That's wild. I mean, obviously they
Yeah.
had to adjust when Portis got ejected and Middleton got injured, but wow. The first thing I want to hear you comment on, because I'm actually a little confused by it. It was Nembhard, right? I'm curious as to why Nembhard didn't get ejected as well. I think
So
Portis was definitely the aggressor, but Nembhard reacted and did the exact same thing as Portis. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on why Nembhard wasn't ejected too, and then you can just go on because I just said all my notes.
yeah. So I think, and this might not explain this exact situation to you, but and this is probably the same thing just in every sport. But when it comes to playoff time, the refs are a lot, and the league in general is a lot very more like um, how who's going to get technical foul and who's going to get ejected. Like regular season, they wouldn't have even thought about it. They would have thrown out both players
Right.
and they would have been done with it. In the playoffs, the rules change. Like they become very selective on who gets thrown out and why. Like for example, the whole I don't know if you remember, but the last game, like Russell Westbrook, like he got like ejected, I'm pretty sure, or he got like teed up, I think. But he was
Yeah.
like being very aggressive to the point where like Stephen A. Smith got on national television. He said he called the league and was like, "Yo, how is he not suspended for a game?" And they were like, if this was in the regular season, he would have been, but because it's the playoffs, he gets a little more leniency from it. So yeah,
Stephen
so
A.
I guess
called him
that
up.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, he did. But yeah, as far as this series goes, I just more so I'm looking at it from a standpoint of just like legacy talk, where it's like it really pisses me off that like Doc Rivers, Dame, and Giannis are gonna get like killed for this when it's like
what
it's
the
just
yeah,
not
no.
fair. It's not fair, man. Like obviously there's an like if they were healthy, they would beat this Pacers team. No offense to the Pacers, because I do think they're a good squad, and I still think it would be a good series. But I think we could all agree that if the Bucks were healthy, they would win. And if the Bucks were healthy last year, they would have beat the bum ass Heat. Like I'm sick and tired of the Heat too, like acting like they're fuck the Heat. But anyways, yeah, no, they yeah, I don't know. It's just unfortunate for Milwaukee, and I think this year we were all looking forward to like to that Celtics Bucks Eastern Conference Finals, man. Like, and I know you probably weren't because we were sick and tired of seeing the Bucks, but like it's two completely different teams now. It's like Dame and Giannis going up against our new squad. Like that would have been Doc Rivers. Like that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
But I'll settle for Knicks Celtics. But yeah, I mean, I don't really got too many takeaways. I'm happy to see like the Pacers and like the Magic, those two teams, like really starting to like, you know, make some more progress because they've been teams in the last couple of years where people have talked about them. They're like, they're a couple of years away. They're a couple of years away. And everyone was
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, well, they're not really showing any progress in the postseason. And now it seems like we're seeing that. So I think this will
Yeah.
only help those teams like as they move forward. But yeah, I think I don't know where this leaves the Bucks. I think obviously like injuries they were not expecting, and it's also for me another little tidbit. I hate to bring this up, but it's like Dame's getting older now, and he never really suffered from injuries. So I'm curious to see now, like, is this going to be the start of you know
Yeah.
start of the end? I hate to even bring that up into the air, but those are some serious questions you got to have. And then I don't know where this leaves Giannis. So I don't know. A lot of questions about that, but I don't really have any necessary takeaways on the game. It's just more so like looking ahead. So
Yeah. Real quick, do you what's the update on Giannis? Is there any chance he returns like in the next couple games?
I don't know. Like I said, man, like this injury. I think I said this on the last Zoom. Like this injury is an injury that you know if you rush back, like this was the one that Durant rushed back from. Remember, I was telling you. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think that honestly, man, like they might be looking at it from a standpoint of like we're down 3-1. Like, do we want to risk this? Because if Giannis gets hurt again, he'll be out for another year. So then we won't have a shot next year. So some tough decisions are probably being made behind the scenes. So that's probably
Yeah.
why they don't have an. It's more of like a day-to-day thing, because
Mhm.
nobody wants to be responsible for that. So I don't
Of
know. But like I
course.
said,
Yeah.
man, tough decisions have to be made, and I don't know. Don't know.
There it is. All right, so we're gonna move on to the Suns really quick. The last thing I actually want to say, just kind of spur of the moment, is I really feel like we didn't cover Miles Turner enough. He really had a crazy second half because we were kind of focused on what does this mean for the Bucks. I mean, I just want to talk about Miles Turner. He was doing all
But
kinds of crazy crap. Um, unreal game from him. And it just shows oh, I know what I want to say, that the way this Pacers team has been built. I mean, obviously they traded for Siakam and Halliburton. They drafted Miles Turner. I mean, they've done really well. It reminds me of the Celtics in terms of like, they didn't just draft this team or they didn't just trade for a super team or anything like that. Um the Pacers really have put together a good team here, and they're picking up the slack when someone else is showing it. Halliburton's kind of hobbled and Siakam isn't putting up 30. All right, Miles Turner is going to go off. Just stuff you need to see. And the Bucks were kind of doing that too. Like I said, Brooke Lopez has been dynamite on offense. That was cringe. But especially with Giannis hurt, then Dame hurt, now Middleton hurt, he's had to pick up a lot of slack. So good for both these teams dealing with star players who are having off nights or slightly hobbled and just having a bit of depth to support that.
Absolutely.
Mike, do you have do you happen to have Bradley Beal's phone number or his address?
What?
Do you know where Beal might live?
I feel like this is a setup for a really bad joke, but
I
continue.
just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to
Phone.
him. I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to him. I'm not going to say the other thing because then I'm going to get banned, but I just want to talk to him.
You don't want to talk to the owner of the Suns who thought he was playing NBA 2K with this
I
roster.
No, I don't. I want to talk to Bradley Beal. No, we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this. Let's start from the get-go though. Anthony Edwards clearly must have had a really bad game, huh? Because he started 0 from over 5 in the first quarter. I wonder if he's gonna heat up at all. But other than a quiet McDaniels, I'm sorry, not McDaniels, Edwards first quarter. Um, I think the Suns had the advantage at the end of the first. Durant had a really great first half. Cat was doing some scoring on McDaniels. Let's see. Yeah, Booker obviously. Booker was shooting the ball like crazy. So obviously he's gonna end the night with 49 points. How much did Beal have again? We'll discuss that. Obviously he ends the night with 49 points, but the size of the Timberwolves was really showing, and the lack thereof from Booker. He was getting blocked left and right, like McDaniels, Gobert, even Edwards had a block on Beal, not Beal, Booker, and he still ended up with 49 points. So Booker really tried to take this game all by himself. Durant still ended up with 33, so both of those guys terrific games, and that's why I want to talk to Beal because these two, I don't care if they win the series, right? I mean, I like both these teams. I did want the Suns to win because I like them a little bit more, and obviously the Coyote situation. But these two, just for game 4, just to avoid the sweep, Durant and Booker were so passionate about not getting swept. You could just see how much they gave a shit in their play. And then Beal was just kind of there. And it just pissed me off. And then he ends up fouling out and injuring Anthony Edwards. So what else do you want to say? More about Edwards. So he did finish the game. It reminded me a lot of Lillard though, where I wouldn't expect him to play the next game. However, the next game is at least a week or two from now. So this was a very good sweep for the Timberwolves because I don't think Edwards would have played in a couple days. He looked pretty god dang hobbled. Um, Mike Conley was another one of those guys. That's not on the score sheet, but that it just seemed like every time that the Suns were about to do something, Conley was the one who was just like, screw that. He only had 10 points. I swear to you, I thought he had at least 20 to 25. He was everywhere, getting some really good rebounds. Um, Dude, did you see that poster from Edwards on KD? So then, yes, Edwards ended
Of
up
course I
waking
did.
up, especially with the ankle. You wouldn't believe that his ankle was injured, the way that he was running around doing this crap. Posters KD, he ended up with 40 points, Towns 28, McDaniels 18. I wrote Booker 49, KD 33, Beal dot dot dot. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much the story. The Suns get swept. Their depth just and the strong suit for the Timberwolves, other than their size, was their depth. Because, like I said, McDaniels, Conley, and what is it? Alexander Walker were huge pieces in this series. I'm gonna start off with a question here, and then you can go into your thing. Uh, did the Suns not have a pretty decent winning streak against the Timberwolves before this series started? Zero.
I don't remember, but I mean, I'm just gonna ignore that question because I have a lot to say right now.
Okay.
First of all, I understand your frustration with Beal, but it's like, what about the other side of the court? Like, yeah, players are scoring and everything, but the Suns just can't play defense. nobody on that team can defend. So they all deserve like a intensely fair share of the blame, in my opinion. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying that they're feeling bad for Durant and all these things, but my thing is with Durant, it's like, why does he keep putting himself in these same situations? This is the same exact situation as the Nets. Top heavy team, no defense, but don't worry, guys, we could score a lot. We don't need to run anything. We don't need a bench. Like, I don't know why he did this again to himself. Like, it really to
Right.
me makes no sense. Um, the new owner who stepped in, and like I said, I'm not joking. He literally, like, thinking this is NBA 2K, just started just saying, "Oh, I got all this money, so let me just get these three really cool players," and then like not put a team together. Like, what are we doing here? You have one player left remaining from your team that went to the finals 3 years ago and won 60 plus games 2 years ago. I understand you guys had an atrocious loss to the Mavericks in that game 7, but like in hindsight, you didn't need to blow the whole team up. Like you could have ran it back with that same team the next year with more
Yeah.
experience. I think you agree with me on that. Like they really shot themselves in the foot with that, man. It's like sometimes you don't just like I always see like when they're like I see what a bunch of teams now. It's like, man, if this team doesn't win, they gotta blow it up. And it's like, you don't always have to blow it up. Like you don't always have to do that. Um,
Right.
but I mean, I'm really impressed with the Timberwolves. I'll tell you what,
Hmm.
man. And I've been very. I'm not. It's not me jumping on the bandwagon. I've been watching Edwards for the past few seasons now, and I'll be honest, man. I think within the next 2 to 3 years, he's gonna be he's going to be the best player on the planet that's like currently
Wow.
playing. Um,
You think he's gonna be
I
better
really
than
don't even think
Jokic?
that's. I think so, Joe, because I think in the next 3 years, I think Jokic's prime is right now, right? And Jokic is someone who like he doesn't give a shit about anything. He doesn't take care of his body. He could care less about the league. I think in the next 3 years, like Jokic is going to be checked out. He'll be in his 30s. Like I don't think Jokic is going to have this long career. Like he doesn't enjoy playing basketball. I think within the next 3 years, like he's going to be good. He'll be a top 5 player, but I think I think Edwards his trajectory, man. I mean, I don't see anybody reaching him, and I think he's going to be the face of the league in a sense of like how Curry and LeBron brought like entertainment and excitement. Like we got to watch this guy. Like Jokic, as good as he is, like he's not the face of the league. People aren't like, yo, like I gotta watch Jokic, do just throw up shots and it goes in. I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying like it's not as entertaining to watch as it is to watch Edwards. Like I was watching Edwards last night, like holy shit, man, like this dude is a superstar.
Wow.
So I guess that was
Wow.
like that was one of my big takeaways. And I just think, I mean, the Timberwolves, if you remember, the Timberwolves started out really, really strong this year and then kind of dipped down like a little bit, and people kind of stopped
Yeah.
talking about them. And they're showing. I mean, them and the I got a lot of respect for them and the Thunder because I mean the Thunder haven't closed it out yet, but they're most likely going to sweep. The Thunder and the Timberwolves were two teams that everyone was like, "Yo, we'd rather play them than the Nuggets." And like, yeah, you would, but like people were so adamant about that, including me, that it's like I like that they said, you know what, like we're gonna come out here first round and we're just gonna be dominant and show you guys that it's like we're not just a cakewalk, like there's a reason why we're this
Mhm.
high of a seed. Um, so yeah, I mean it's tough for the Suns. KD now has gotten swept in the first round twice in the last 3 years. I think that's
Yep.
insanity. Um, not saying it's his fault because I think he played well, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I just really it seems like it honestly like and I like this obviously isn't like all the way accurate, but like it just seems ever since he did that unfair thing to the league and went to the Warriors, he's been cursed by like the basketball gods ever since then, dude. Like torn
Yeah.
Achilles, then it's like the Nets injuries, then foot on the line, or else he would have went to the finals and won that year. Like something's going on, man.
Forgot about
I'm
that.
telling you, man. He is he has been cursed by the NBA. If there is NBA gods, he's been cursed by them. Like,
Dude, he had those sideshow Bob ass feet.
if it wasn't for that, man, they would have won the finals that year. But
Uh,
but he got you'll get yours. You'll get yours, Jimmy. Promise you that much. But yeah, that's basically what the league said to Kevin Durant after he joined the Warriors. So it's like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's what I got on that.
so let's see. Um, Timbies were making, yep. So the Timberwolves defense was making so many flashy plays, and the Suns aren't this giant team, so we kind of expected the defense to stand tall against them, especially in the paint. But I mean, they were just lighting up, especially like I said, Booker, who still managed with 49. So it just goes to show how great Booker was tonight. He and Edwards were just answering each other's threes constantly in the third quarter. So just a big shout out to Booker for I mean, the rest of the series was whatever, right? But like for this game, man, like you really did come out and try, and I feel for you. I do feel for you. I being what like that's my third favorite team being the Suns. I definitely feel bad for Booker after that. Funny how you mentioned the Thunder and the Nuggets and that. It's very interesting. Don't forget with on the 82nd game, it was a three-way race for the first seed. Who no one knew where anyone was going to be seated, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, let's hope that they get there. Let's hope these matchups." But they're 10-1. It didn't matter. It didn't matter in the end, which is kind of like upsetting because it's like, different storylines could have been built because it would have been like, oh well, the Thunder really blew it to the Pelicans. Would have been great, by the way. So it would have like,
Hold on,
if the
hold
Suns
on.
dropped there or
It mattered. It mattered. The Lakers would have beaten the Thunder in the first round.
okay then. I'm just saying shit,
That's
but
honestly like the Lakers were the one were really, I mean, in hindsight the Lakers were really the only team where any of that really mattered. Um
mm,
because
fair.
and but I'll tell you this much, so I don't know if the Lakers would have beat the Timberwolves now that I'm looking at it. But
Sure.
who the Timberwolves could beat? The Nuggets.
Could. Thank you for the could. But before we continue here, because I know we're gonna forget it, and I don't want to forget it. Best wishes for Chris Finch. That was a bad scene at the end of the game. Obviously, he went down. People were being immediate Twitter doctors going, "Oh, he blew out his knee." But no one saw what happened. He was ran into by Mike Conley. They ended up getting him up. Another good thing that they were able to sweep. Like I said, Edwards was very like hobbled, so good to get him some rest. Good to get Finch some rest. Obviously, he doesn't need the most stamina to be out there and running around and coaching. But if he got hit, if he took a big hit to the head, or if he has a concussion or something like of that stature, then this next week and a half off is going to be huge for him. So hope that he rests up and feels better because it's one of those things where you hate to see that happen to someone on the sidelines, whether it be a coach, a fan, or anyone who's like not physically out there asserting themselves. I hate to see it for a player, let alone anyone else. So just best wishes for
Absolutely.
him. And yeah, I'm pretty sure isn't that what fouled Beal out? Or no. What fouled Beal out was hurting Edwards. So who did that? I forget who did that. I know it was Conley running into him. I forget who did it I don't think it really matters, but just wanted to make sure we threw that in there because yeah. So obviously this is our first I've
Hey, yeah, there's been so many quotes in the NBA the last 2 years that have just aged so horribly. Like,
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I saw who said it. So, all right, I thank you, Mike. Bradley Beal. I've never been swept a day in my life. I'll be damned if that happens. Good job. Yeah. That's why he fouled out. So he did. I
yeah,
didn't. I didn't technically get swept. I got
yeah,
fouled out.
yeah, yeah. Beal. That's because you've been to the playoffs like 3 times in your career, buddy. That's why you've never been
I was
swept.
also thinking that. Yeah.
Like,
Friggin' carried the yeah, okay, actually he did average 31 one year. I'm not gonna go down that, but he's just pissing me off, so I almost did. So like I said, this is our first team we're discussing who got eliminated. For the NHL edition later, we'll be doing this again because another sweep in the NHL. So I was just gonna look into what you think the future stands for these or this in this state team that's got eliminated. So we got Bradley Beal stuck at 50 million a year. I don't think they're going to move that contract, unfortunately. I think they're pretty much stuck with him. And they have two expiring contracts, being Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen. Now, as a hockey, because I feel like in the NBA, if a contract's expiring, unless we're talking like someone of amazing stature or total solid team player, you in NBA you just get rid of them. If this was NHL, I feel like the production that Grayson Allen put up this year would call to keep him because this was his first year there, and honestly, from what I've heard, this is one of his, if not his best offensive season, and he
without a
actually
doubt.
provided the closest thing you could call depth for the Suns this year. So I'm not sure if it's going to be too expensive to keep him around because obviously the Suns, because of these monster contracts, aren't exactly rolling around like Scrooge McDuck. But if the money's right, I would vote to keep Grayson Allen. Maybe let O'Neal walk. See if you could find some way to get rid of Beal. Honestly, I mean, if you maintain some of his salary and just I don't know. And it's not just the one game. I just felt like whenever I watched the Suns, I remember the beginning of the year Durant was playing extremely well. Because there was a phase, remember, where the three didn't play together for the longest time, and Durant pretty much held down the fort. Booker came back, he had quite a few good games. I only remember seeing during the season a few Beal like games where he like played well. He definitely had his worst season of his career this year. I looked at his stats. Um, I just think if there's any way just to get some depth on the bench, you're going to have to get rid of a big contract. And KD and Booker were looking very, very good this year. So I think just the odd man out, unbiased as possible, is Beal. But
Well,
I don't know if they'll be able to
well,
pull that
what if?
off in a perfect world. I'm saying, of course. And
Well,
Vogel's gone. Vogel's gone.
you think?
I want it.
See, this is what I mean though. Like Vogel, Vogel wasn't the problem. I don't think, at least. Like, and also too, I don't think like you got to also remember too. This was the first like teams have never teams have never worked in their first year together, like first full year. Like uh shit, the Heat with LeBron and Wade and Bosh, they didn't work year one. Like you can't just like you can't just blow it up. Like I get what you're saying, like if you were to move who you would move, but it's like I don't think this is gonna work. Let me be clear, but you gotta try. Because you ain't gonna get anything better than this right now. I'll tell you that much. But I'll tell you, this is what I will say, and I don't know the whole contract. I don't know if this is a possibility or not. I think KD is going to go back home to OKC eventually,
Wow.
and I think he's going to end his career there. I think he's going to try to win a ring there because he knows that it's like, yeah, they're a very good team, obviously, so it might look away at first. But if KD goes back home and helps OKC win a ring, that would do a lot of damage control for him. Um,
Oh my God. It would be a full circle story for sure
yeah.
for Durant.
So I don't even know if that can happen, but I mean, I'd be okay with seeing that. I wouldn't mind
Would
seeing that at all.
too,
I'd
yeah.
love to see that. So I think that might happen, and tell you what, man, part of me feels bad for Booker, but another part of me doesn't because those 2 years when they were going to the finals and they had 60 plus wins, he was talking so much trash to everybody, acting like he was an MVP already, like he had won 3 finals, like so it's like, you know what,
Yeah.
man, like you really thought like that you like I don't know like and yeah, I get it, confidence is good, and Book plays great. Book's a great player. Something about him just annoys me though. I can't lie. But
Maybe he's gonna
I,
get
I
humbled
think
now.
I think Book. I don't see Book going anywhere else. That's the only reason why I said like the Beal thing I wouldn't let go of, because KD is such a wild card. I see KD requesting out long before anybody else wants to get out. And so it's like, then if you get rid of Beal and then KD has to leave, it's kind of like, okay, now you're really like stuck at like the first 4 or 5 seasons of Booker's career, where the Suns were just an absolute like laughing stock, you know. So,
But
but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I got on that.
I think that wraps up this NBA edition. I think I'm probably gonna end up uploading this as its own thing just because this has been significantly longer. Most of my NBA talks are like 15 to 20 minutes, and then hockey takes like 40. But we have 4 hockey games to go over. So I think I'm gonna make these their own separate videos. But yeah, we got how many? We got I know we got Celtics tonight. How many games you got tonight?
I think it's three. I think we got
About
Celtics, the Pelicans, and the Lakers.
No, not the Philly. I don't want Philly. Well,
You don't want to just get that. You
final.
don't want to just get that over with.
Well, we'll be doing the same talk tomorrow for the Pelicans that we had today for the Suns. Maybe the Lakers too. Maybe the Lakers too. But and that'll be an interesting talk for sure. But
Lee
if
comeback.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully it doesn't come back. But yeah, we'll see. So be on the lookout if you like both leagues for the NHL video later in the day. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you later. Where's the
Peace.
button? Where's the button? Oh, there it is.